Welcome to my new video as a part of my initiative for teaching you dear students. Happy English Language Day. 23rd of April is a gala day for lovers of English literature. On this very day, the pillar of English language, the father of modern English literatures, the great banyan of English language, who reigns 1564 to 1616, was born as well as passed away in this very month. To our heartfelt homage to this pillar of English language and legendary icon. Today, I will be going to teach you such a topic which will be beneficial for one and all from 8 to 80s, that is figure of speech. Now let me know or introduce what is a figure of speech. A figure of speech is ornamental employment of words, phrases and sentences. But I think these mere definitions suffice it to say will not make you understand better about this. So let me go in bit detail regarding the essence of figures of speech or the purpose of its use. The purpose of its use. Actually, just to imagine, an artist can paint a picture with a brush or easel, but a writer or poet can draw a picture with words. This is called word pictures. You just imagine, every day you are given a natural food, rice and curry, bread and butter as breakfast or as your dinner. But sometimes, especially if I am not wrong, during the lockdown period, you pamper your parents to provide you some palatable dishes, some tasty dishes. So similar is the case of language, sentence, narrative or theme. In order to give the flavor or enhance the flavor or effectiveness or adornment of words, the figure of speech is required. Name of the figure of speech, another way naming is literary device or rhetoric. So to sum up, what is the essence of figure of speech? It is essential to enhance the flavor, effectiveness and adornment of words in a sentence, poem and narrative, which is already displayed as per definitions in my slide. Now, you know the purpose of figure of speech, just be it in detail. You are housed in a building. This building is supported by pillar, and this pillar is actually a common word. And if this pillar is used as a literary flavor, that is, failures are the pillar of success. So the very word pillar will be effectively used as ornaments. Similarly, language or narrative takes care, nurturing or nourishment. That is the sole purpose of figure of speech. The sole purpose of figure of speech is to make the theme more creative, more artistic, more conducive and more persuasive. That is the main essence of figure of speech. Now, I am going to give you lecture figures of speech one by one. There are so many figures of speech in English language, more than 100. Basically 22 are enough for you to understand. But today I like to discuss you more than 12, that is 13. And first part is the figures of speech based on comparison. That is the simile. The very word simile actually is a Latin word. This word has come from the similis or simile, meaning similarities or likelihood. Now, what is the well-defining meaning of this simile? A literary device where the two dissimilar things are compared explicitly or openly for a point of similarity. Just you see the slide where the famous legendary that is called sprinter, Usain Bolt. This is also well known name to you, The Usain Bolt runs like a cheetah. But if this expression runs like this, that Usain Bolt runs fastest. So there will be no rhythmic, there will be no well comparison. But in order to make it figurative, or you can see, or you can listen to, that will be very much adorning. If I like to make the use in such a way, Usain Bolt runs like a cheetah. But here, Usain Bolt and cheetah both are two dissimilar things. Usain Bolt, the very runner, and cheetah is another one. So both do not resemble each other, but here the quality is the speed or the running quality that is being compared with a cheetah. And this figure of speech simile mainly introduced by words like such and such as or just as. That is the essential characteristics of simile. In addition to some other examples, and here one point is to be very much, that is called, for your better understanding, Usain Bolt runs like a cheetah. Here the verb is run and cheetah is a noun. So here verb plus noun. But in some cases, examples others, that is Shakespeare. I have already told this particular month is the death anniversary, or particularly the Shakespeare was born in this month. Though the particular date of Shakespeare's death is not mentioned, but he has master over these literary devices. Just example, as flies to wanton boys are we to the gods. So here flies means that very insects, and then wanton means naughty boys. The way naughty boys deal with these flies, similarly are we to the gods. If we are really involved in incorrigible offense, the God will punish us. So this expression is well employed by, that is called, iconic of English literature, Shakespeare. Similarly, in many poems of the Shelley, especially Ode to the West Wind, drive my dead thoughts over the universe like withered leaves to quicken a new bud. These are the examples of similes. Now, I would like to go to the second figure of speech that is also based on comparison. That is called metaphor, which actually metaphory. Metaphory means transfer. This is an hidden comparison, implicit comparison between two dissimilar objects without using words such as like, as, just as, etc., like that of another figure of speech, that is, I have already told you in the beginning, simile. So here example is camel is the sheep of the desert, and here you just see in the screen or slide that in the very desert, you have here the name of the desert, Sahara, Gobi, all these things, all these desert names, and you just imagine or visualize how the camel is also running, or how the camel is also plodding, carrying these people. So sheep is the mean for the carrying cargoes as well as mean. Similarly, camel is the best means of carrying in the deserts. So there is a comparison, that sheep of the desert with that of camel. But camel and sheep of the desert, they do not resemble each other. But the point of comparison is to convey that carrying the same. That's why it is a point of comparison. And this point of comparison is not conveyed by using such as. And I would like to mention you, just like a matter has 2 or 3 states, solid, liquid and gaseous. So if I like to say the simile is a liquefied state and metaphor is a solid state, that's why simile metaphor is called implied simile and simile is called expanded metaphor. Now I would like to say you the simile versus metaphor. There is a differentiate. How would you differentiate simile and metaphor? If the simile is there, definitely like, as will be there. In case of metaphor, it is called implied simile. There will be no use of, that is called like and as. So simile is called expanded metaphor, that is the called liquefied state, and metaphor is a solid state, that is called consolidated one, that is called implied simile, where comparison is hidden. And in case of simile, comparison is, that is called explicit, that is called openly stated. That is all about the simile and metaphor. There are so many examples there that will be available in your many of the books like grammar and others. So to meet your thirst of knowledge, just I like to say you some other example. Just Ramon Rai was the salt of the earth. Here's the salt is a common thing, but this salt of the earth means what the element in that particular period, how he has brought reformations. So regarding this, salt of the earth is used, that particular salt is used. But Ramon Rai and salt, that really do not resemble each other. But in case of point of comparison, it is being implied. This is all about the simile and metaphor. Now I would like to step to another figure of speech, that is also personifications, and it is called one of the such literary devices, and in Hindi it is called alankar. that is called Vyaktitva Alankara. So it is called such a figure of speech where non-living objects, abstract ideas are spoken of having life and intelligence like living things. Here, through your display of my screen, you can also see the moon smiles. This moon is a idea or is a non-living things, but that moon, this is the activity of whom? Of a human being. Similarly, earth sobs. Another example is death lays its icy hands on one and all or everyone. Death is an abstract idea and that lays on its icy hand. And death has a hands, just like human beings and hands. So death, icy hands, that's lays on one and all. So this is an abstract idea. Another abstract idea, let not ambition mocked is useful try. Mock means jeer at or mock at, teased at. So ambitions is also being teased or ambition is teasing someone, that is barely impossible. But here this ambition is also spoken of the quality of human being. That's why the ambition mocks at. Similarly, the earth sobs, the window speaks. With the injects of such a living beings, we can say how this is being personified. This is even the poem like Mirror in your previous syllabus, that is English Literature by Sylvia Plath. Entire poem is a bright example of personification. Now I'd like to step to another figure of speech, that is alliteration. This alliteration in Hindi literature it is called Anupras Alankar, but here in English it is called repetitions of the same sound or syllable at the beginning of two or more words. And here you can see through the display of the slide that how the Austrian army is awfully arranged for fight. So an Austrian army awfully arrayed, where A is repeated. So repetitions of the same letter, that is A is repeated. And more other examples, Sally, Cell, Cecil, in Ciso. Sally, naming of a girl. Cell, Cecil, where? In Ciso. Boys, book, bank. Betty, board, better, better. To, better, bitter, butter, better. So B, 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 B. Similarly, in the first cases, A, second cases, S, Sally, Cell, Cecil, in Ciso. Betty, board, better, butter. To make bitter, butter, better. So this is all an example of alliteration regarding the repetitions of same sound or syllable at the beginning of two or more words. Now again I like to see another figure of speech that is also very much beneficial for you, because I have already told you this will benefit you not only for particular class. This figure of speech is meant for class 6 to graduation unquote. So that will benefit you and enhance your test of English literature, that you enhance you the understanding of English literature. Now I am going to speak of that is hyperbole, that is called exaggerations. It is mean oti bachon or ati sayakti, an overstated statement meant to be taken literally. It is an overstated statement. How? This is also being displayed. Woman said and oceans of tears. Practically it is possible. The woman really is in mournful state. Possibly she has passed his sad near and dear one. So she is in tears. But when it has been exemplified, that is woman said and oceans of tears. That is an example of, that is called, you can say, that is called hyperbole. And you know the famous quotes of that Wordsworth's poem, Daffodils, 10,000 saw I at glance. This is an example of also hyperbole. And again, that is, you know, that very language of, very quotations of famous Macbeth, that you know, all the perfumes of Arabia I will not sweeten my hands, but all the perfumes. How? You just visualize the state of mental conditions of Lady Macbeth just after she had killed whom? Duncan, his guest, and her guests. And you know, after that situation, she is in the field of insomnia or somnambulist, and she has also left her sleep, most precious sleep, and she tried to oust the red stand mark of the red mark of blood mark, but she cannot. And our that is called master of such a literary device, William Shakespeare, has conveyed this statement through the character of whom? Of Lady Macbeth. All the perfumes of the Arabia will not sweeten, will not oust my red mark. This is also an hyperbole or exaggerated statement. Again, another figure of speech, that I have committed to give you, that is apostrophe. The very word apostrophe means address. Address. This is a literary device where the speaker addresses same non-living things or abstract idea directly. Oh world, oh life, oh time. This you can visualize through the display of my screen, the slide, that is globe of the world. Similarly, oh death, where is thy sting? Similarly, many of the things. Even in the famous poem about the West Wind, oh wind, this is an address by the poet P.B. Shelley. Oh wind, if winter comes, can the spring be far behind? This is also an apt example of apostrophe. And in the then time, when the word is written, generally address is also made in such a way. Definitely, where word is mentioned either on based on abstract ideas or natural objects, these types of the apostrophe that is called address was being profusely used by whom? By the English literary figures, either in a poem, poets or the writers. Now again I would like to switch over to another figure of speech, that is transferred epithet. Epithet means, literary means, according to dictionary, epithet means adjective, and this is a figure of speech where an epithet transferred or the adjective transferred from living to non-living word. Here is an example to the slide. Raj passed a sleepless night. Here the Raj is found, that is called sleepless, but Raj and that is called sleepless. Here the night should not be sleepless, but rather Raj would be sleepless. So what I have stated, that's transferred from the living to non-living one, that Raj is sleepless. It is not the night sleepless, but Raj. So here mentioned Raj passed a sleepless night. So another example is Shubham laid all the night in sleepless pillow. So pillow is not sleepless. Shubham is also found sleepless. So pillow is a pillow, that is called non-living objects, and Shubham is a living being, human being. He is sleepless, but that has been transferred from the living to non-living one. This is also example of, that is called one of the figure of speech or literary device, which will be very much beneficial for you in English literature. In most cases of English literature, these figure of speech are also employed in your syllabus, and that's why I have taken such initiative today to make you understand, so that when you have to start to read out or to learn the English literature, there will be no problem in understanding the line by line of such a figure of speech. Now step 2, others figure of speech. It is onomatopoeia. This is actually sound makes the sense. A figure of speech grouping or comprising such words that echo their sense through their sound effect. Here sounds makes the sense. So here our echoes roll from soul to soul. You can easily see that very versified slide, how the sound or echoes roll from soul to soul. And similarly, in the poem of Rime of the Ancient Mariner, when the sea, that is called rock, growled, roaring, howling, that is the sound effect, that has also well meaning to enrich the effective of the scheme or the poetic intention. What way poet wants to say the extremity of the weather, that is employed through this literary device, onomatopoeia. And the best example of such a device that is also well employed by, in the Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Now step to another one, that is oxymoron. Oxymoron, this figure of speech or rhetoric device, actually two opposing ideas are juxtaposed. Though I have not written here in my display, that is set side by side. Actually juxtaposed means set side by side, where two opposing ideas. Here example, Rajiv is a nice guy, but problem like Rajiv is this, that you are not inclined to go school every day. School is to a just like a prison house, isn't it? So Rajiv is such a guy. Rajiv is regularly irregular. Actually features of Rajiv is irregularity, but sometimes he happens to be regular. That's why it is called Rajiv is regularly irregular. That's why. Another example is, the famous example of whom they brought her warrior dead. That very line, novelist foe. And novelist foe, that is called so foe, even novelist. How can it be? But these two opposing ideas are set side by side. Again, another example, that is a very good proverb. Our sweetest songs are those that tell of our saddest thought. Songs are sweetest. So how can it be the saddest thoughts? But it is an employee to verify even how the melodious songs that may be the saddest one song must be or may be the sweetest one, because most of the cases where our heart really echoes or conveys the saddest one, sometimes it happens to be the very melodious one. That's why though it is the opposing one, it looks very good or it listens very melodious or mellifluous when happen to listen to us. That's why this is oft quoted line, our sweetest songs are those of that tell us of saddest thoughts. Now step to another figure of speech or literary device, the rhetoric device, that is called paradox. Paradox is such a figure of speech, that statement which seems outwardly opposing but conveys the inner significance. Failures are the pillars of success. Just to visualize the screen displayed through it. Failures, that is the failures and success. These are outwardly opposing. But what is the inner significance? You just recall the life of big Amitabh B. After the successive failures of 7 movies, then Sapte Pe Satta he has got success. And even in the case of many of the stalwart figures, even in our legendary icon for the youth, you know that Swami Vivekananda, who has also not been, that is called regarded as a teacher by Vidyasagar, and finally he has been the champion of the whole world. So immediately when you meet failure, you do not get tensed or nervous. This particular figure, you just have heard the names of Robert Bruce. After beating the failures of 7 times, then he has got success. So failures that will give you the X, that is symbolic of experience, and that experience will give you such a boost to lead or to eke out or to finally go to success. That's why this is the inner meaning, though it seems outwardly opposing. Now step to another one, that is our antithesis. Now antithesis and paradox, those two figures of speech based on contrast, but antithesis, that figures of speech, it is connected mostly by conjunction but. So a literary device means the setting of one thing against another one, an open statement of implied contrast. Let's see. Man proposes but God disposes. This is a household proverb, you know. We usually quote this line, man proposes but God disposes. And through the display of, you might have understood this. Another example of is, that is called speech is silver but silence is golden. So speech, even, you know, speech and silence, that are set against one another. But open applied contrast is speech is silver but silence is golden. So this figure of speech is called antithesis, where the setting of one another against, but there is an implied contrast. And step 2, that's figure of speech. Next one is irony. This is also famous figure of speech which we generally call irony of my fate. Irony of my fate, which is usually make use of. But in case of English literatures, this is a figure of speech what one intend to say, but opposite happens. That means this literary device used to make a statement more emphatic in mockery by the use of words indicating the opposite of what is really meant. Yet Bhutas says he is ambitious, and Bhutas is an honorable man. You have heard, probably have been taught, or you have read the famous classic that is called drama of Julius Caesar, written by none other than William Shakespeare. And where after the death of Julius Caesar, then the speech is to be given by Mark Antony, one of the well-wishers of Julius Caesar. And he says how way he has actually drawn the attentions of the subjects or the others in his favor. And he says, Bhutas says he is ambitious, but Bhutas is an honorable man. Bhutas is a murderer, and he has mentioned because of that is over ambitiousness that very Julius Caesar has been murdered. But actually Bhutas is ambitious. But though Bhutas' hands is stained with blood, but he is an honorable man, as he has stated. And audience how has been peopled by his speech. And in another circumlocuted way, this Mark Antonius tries to expose the cruel natures of all the assassinators, including the Bhutas. So this is called famous dramatic irony. Yet Bhutas says he is ambitious, and Bhutas is an honorable man. Oh, you the men of Whom? Rome. You'll be satisfied. Will be satisfied. You'll side with the Buddhas. Because as Buddha says, as honorable man, but Buddhas is a murderer. Of whom? Of Julius Caesar, the would-be king of Rome, or the declared king of Rome. And next figure of speech here, just I am like to highlight climax. The very word climax actually has come from the Latin word. Climax in Latin, it is actually spelled K-L-I-M-A-X. So K-L-M-I-X means ladder. You just visualize the step of a ladder, one after another. So similar is the case of this figure of speech, which raises the sense by successive steps to what is more and more important. The very quotations of that famous Julius Caesar, which is also displayed through the screen, Veni Vidi Vici. But if we actually literally make the meaning, it will be I came, I saw, I conquered. So it is a step more important, most important. So just like a step of a ladder. Similarly, we labored, we planned, we labored, we succeeded in mission. So here we labored, we planned, we labored, we succeeded in our mission. So planned, labored, and succeeded. This is called climax. Step one, more important, most important. So this is called dramatic, one of the dramatic step. It is called climax. As now another figure of speech, that is, this is also end of my, that is called figure of speech. I have tried utmost to make you acquainted almost, which will be very beneficial or very conducive or helpful for you to understand the language of English, especially the literatures. But now I'd like to give a message to you. During this pain of lockdown period, I am trying utmost to give you something, knowing not how I am successful. That is step to you. But I would like to pray to Almighty that if the invisible virus can scare you, then the invisible God also has the power to save you. So this turbulent period will definitely come to an end. Having faith in God, in Almighty, don't get in. We'll fight against this COVID-19 all together. Definitely, we'll be triumphant one day. So stay home, stay healthy, stay safe.